Beneath the sprawling metropolis, where streets buzz with life and buildings claw at the sky, there lay a secret buried so deep in time that no one alive remembered it existed. The city had grown and evolved, its past forgotten in the relentless march of progress. But sometimes the past refuses to be forgotten. It began innocuously enough, as these things often do. A construction project in the heart of the city, yet another skyscraper to puncture the clouds. Excavators rumbled and earth-moving machines churned through centuries of layered soil, revealing the hidden history below. Workers were used to finding remnants of the past, old pipes, fragments of pottery. But what they unearthed this time was something far older, far more sinister. Beneath the layers of dirt, concrete and rubble, they found stones. Ancient stones, weathered and cracked, with strange markings carved into them. No one could decipher the writing, but the meaning became clear soon enough. It wasn't just a graveyard they'd uncovered. It was a forgotten burial ground, older than the city itself. News spread quickly. Archaeologists flocked to the site, eager to study the unexpected discovery. Some whispered that it was an ancient plague cemetery. Others claimed it might be tied to long-lost rituals. But as the bones and broken headstones were pulled from the earth, something else awoke. Something that had been waiting for centuries to be disturbed. It started with the cold. The workers felt it first, even on the hottest days. A creeping chill in the air, like a breeze blowing up from the freshly unearthed graves, one that no amount of sunlight could banish. Then came the noises. At first, it was barely noticeable. A faint whispering in the wind, too soft to make out. But the whispers grew, louder and more insistent, until it became impossible to ignore. Strange sounds echoed through the construction site at night, footsteps, the scraping of nails on stone, and the distant hollow wails of something long forgotten. People began to leave the site, one by one. Some claimed they couldn't sleep, haunted by nightmares of grasping hands pulling them down into the cold, dark earth. Others swore they saw figures in the fog, staring at them from the corners of the excavation. No one wanted to admit what they truly feared, that they had disturbed something best left buried. It wasn't long before the strange occurrences spread beyond the construction site. Residents in nearby buildings started to report unsettling phenomena. Doors would slam shut on their own, and mirrors would fog up with breathy whispers written across their surfaces. Worse still, some claimed to see shadowy figures in their homes, figures with hollow eyes and mouths twisted in silent screams. The city buzzed with rumors. Some said it was a prank, others that it was the lingering effects of the ancient burial ground. But there was no denying that something unnatural was happening, and it was spreading. The first death came a week after the excavation began. A worker from the site was found in his apartment, his body cold and stiff, his eyes wide open in terror. No cause of death could be determined. He simply looked as though his heart had stopped from fear. But those who saw his face swore he had been staring at something unseen. After that, the deaths multiplied. The victims had all worked on or near the graveyard site, each found with the same look of frozen terror etched into their faces. Their eyes were always wide, as though they had seen something beyond human comprehension in their final moments. And always near their bodies there were signs of decay, dusty footprints, a withered flower, a faint odour of rot. The spirits had been disturbed, and they were not at peace. Experts were brought in, paranormal investigators, priests, psychics, but no one could stop what had been unleashed. Every attempt to bless the land, every ritual to calm the restless dead seemed to only anger them further. The whispers turned to wails, the shadowy figures grew bolder, and the deaths continued. Worse, the spirits seemed to grow stronger with each soul they claimed. People began to flee the area, abandoning their homes in a panic. But no matter how far they ran, those who had disturbed the graveyard could not escape. The spirits followed, creeping into their dreams, appearing in their reflections, lurking just beyond the veil of the living world. The city was gripped by fear. Streets emptied after dark as if the darkness itself had become a predator. The old graveyard, now fully uncovered, lay at the heart of it all, a wound in the earth that no one dared to approach. The ancient headstones, once hidden and forgotten, now stood as silent sentinels watching as their vengeance spread like a plague. And yet, for all their power, the spirits wanted only one thing: to return to their eternal rest. They had been wronged, their graves disturbed by the thoughtless march of modern progress, their peace shattered by the greedy hands of the living, and now they demanded justice. It was then that a discovery was made, a forgotten piece of the puzzle, overlooked in the rush to excavate. Deep within the heart of the burial ground, beneath layers of earth untouched for centuries, lay an old stone seal. It was cracked and crumbling, its markings worn almost smooth by time, but its purpose was clear. It had been placed there to hold something back, to keep the spirits of the dead trapped in their slumber. In their haste to build, the workers had broken the seal, and in doing so, they had released the vengeful souls of those who had been laid to rest in the cursed ground. No one knew who had placed the seal there, or why, but it was clear that it was the only thing that had kept the spirits from rising for so long. But now it was too late. The spirits would not be placated by words or rituals. Their anger was too great, their thirst for vengeance too strong. They wanted the living to know the pain they had suffered, the agony of being forgotten, abandoned and disturbed. And so they spread their curse far and wide, hunting those who had wronged them, dragging their souls into the cold darkness from which they had risen. The city, once vibrant and alive, now felt the weight of the forgotten dead pressing down upon it. Streets that had once been bustling were now eerily silent. Windows that had once glowed with light were darkened, as though the very life had been drained from the buildings. Those who remained locked themselves indoors, praying that the spirits would not come for them in the night. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. The dead had been disturbed, and they would not rest until every last soul who had dared to trespass on their forgotten graveyard had been claimed. In the end, it wasn't the city that buried the past. It was the past that buried the city.